again to the Baltimore Streetcar Museum. Again, we are just a volunteer group of people that love this stuff, and you're welcome to do that too. And you're doing it by your fares and everything that you pay help us keep this going. And so we appreciate you coming down. And if you ever want to do it some more, come on back. He just finished his class, so there's classes you can learn how to do all this good stuff, and it's a lot of fun. Now this car is car 4533, and it was built in before you see he's changing the end. When we were talking about the wire, remember? You were asking about the power.
Yeah.
So he's putting this one down. You put that one up. So we'll go back. Okay. So that's
Thanks. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, there's a question for you. Anyway, 4533 was built in 1904 by what's called the J.G. Grille Company. That was like the GM of streetcars, and they were up in Philadelphia. They built millions as well, thousands anyway, of streetcars, many for Baltimore, and this is one of them, 1904. It's called a closed car. Now, even though the windows are open here, this was really basically a wintertime car, because you'll notice there's no position between open and closed really. That one was stuck. So there's no in between where you can just put it up a little bit. So people preferred open in the summer, like the car we were just on, or closed like this in the winter. This has heat underneath the seats, electric heat. It'll toast it up a little bit in here, except when every time you open the doors, you're losing it. But so this is a winter car. But really, they ran all year long on some lines anyhow, because they didn't have that many. Problem with open cars and closed cars is if you got a fleet of cars that's not used half a year. That's going to be an expensive way to do things. But anyway, but that's what this is. Now, in the 1920s, they decided that they were going to try to be a little cheaper. And instead of having two guys, you notice how when we were in that other car, we had a conductor and a motorman. And people didn't like the motorman to be dealing with the money and the change and everything else, because he needs to be paying attention to the road. And they didn't like that. So they had two guys. But then the company's saying, we don't want to pay two people at the job do this. So they decided to create what they call a one-man car. And so a one-man car, what this is now, built as a two-man, is you just have an operator who has a fare box and does all the change and everything himself. Now, people were a little scared about that, but has air brakes. You'll notice it's different. I don't have to wind it up like he did. So it's better stopping sometimes. But anyway, and so what they did is take some of their older cars. This was an older one. And then they updated it to have air brakes and more modern, and made it a one-man car. So they did this in the 1920s. And cars like this ran until the late 1930s, when they were replaced by, basically replaced by electric buses, trackless trolleys, which we have in Baltimore. But people don't realize that we have trackless trolleys. And they still have trackless trolleys in other cities. We just don't have them here. Total 100% electric. And Philadelphia still has a couple of lines. San Francisco's got tons of lines. Boston, they just got rid of them. It makes sense to have that. But it's got two wires up there with the poles instead of just one. Anyway, getting into all that. These cars were replaced by trackless in the late 30s. And this car itself, they didn't junk that time. They decided that we're going to just use this as a maintenance car. So it stayed in being used until 1963, when the last streetcars in Baltimore went away. And it was used as a, what they call a rail grinder test car. In other words, it would go out on the track, and if there was a place where the rails weren't right, it would spray this paint at it, and then they would know to come along later on and grind that down. Well, half the time it's sprayed all over the car. There's pictures of paint all over the mess, But anyway, because of that, it stayed till the end, and that's why we have it, because all the other stuff was junk. So it was painted red in those days. If you go into the museum somewhere, there's I'm sure on the wall somewhere, there's probably a picture of it. Painted all red with some yellow paint splattered all over it, and it was a different number at that time, but this is the original number that it was. So, also when this was new, this would have been a door here, and this would have been all open, like the car at the other end. So they didn't care about the operator so much. They just wanted you to be nice and toasty. He just stood out there in the rain and the snow and got wet and everything else. But then they started enclosing it. So that's a neat car. I like it. But anyway. So, questions about this one or anything else?
Now, do these run on the same tracks as a regular train?
No. Our track here is 8 inches wider in space between the rails than a regular railroad. Okay, and the reason for that, in lots of cities it's different everywhere around, because when these were built, when the first streetcars in Baltimore was in 1859, they were horse-drawn. And what the cities generally did is says you can put those down, but you got to make them the width of the wagons in our city. And so they made them 5 feet 4.5 inches. That was the general wagon gauge in Baltimore. Because that way you could run your wagon down the track and make it. See, this rail here, it's different than railroad track. If you look at it, it's got like a, kind of hard to see, but it's got like a little flange in there, and you can run it. Once we get out on the open track, it's railroad track. But in here, this is street rail. You might be able to see it better if you look, look at this road. See how that is? So you pave up to it, and then you got that groove, and you can run your wagon wheel in that groove. You can see it out that way. See how that is. So that was great. You know, you could drive on that. And then it just stayed that way. And like if you go to Philadelphia, it's 2 inches not as less. Yeah, 5'2.5". This is 5'4.5". Railroad is 4'8.5". So 8 inches wider. That's how you can tell if you're ever in Baltimore and you see streets, the tracks are coming up. If you can see if it's wide enough, you'll know those were streetcars. In fact, I ran over number 8 car tracks coming over here today, which that green car ran over 16 Green Mountain Avenue. Put some on here. Anyway. So that's basically what that is. Other questions? Give me an answer. I'll make up a question.
And they, I guess these overhead lines, they're still around here in their walk I've seen.
Well, this is trolley wire. So you won't see any you'll see some of these ancient poles are still around. Some of them still have traffic signals hanging on them. You always notice that when you see one of those poles that has a little ball cap like that on top of it, there's still some of them around, and those were the poles that had streetcars. But occasionally you'll see 1 or 2 out on the line where it used to be. But this kind of wire here is specifically for streetcars, so you won't see this.
So that doesn't matter.
The only thing I'll tell you that you can see, if you're dying to find something, go out Frederick Road, out in front of Mount St. Joe's High School. And let's see those little, see how the wire hits that little goofy looking, looks like a barbell? It's a little wooden insulator. There's one still hanging down there from a traffic signal to keep the wire off the traffic signal. So that means that traffic signal's been there since 1960. It's kind of ridiculous. But it's still, I haven't taken it down. No, I didn't climb up there to take that. I do have one from Bay Shore I found. Anyway, they're just little insulators, so goofy things. There's still things left. Like if you go to Towson, you familiar with Towson? Yeah. There's a place up on Towson, it's called Wilson Lighting. You ever been to there?
Oh, yeah.
It's a little stone building.
Yeah.
That's a substation for the 8 car lines. That was just had electric equipment in it, but they made it real nice to fit in with the neighborhood. They would do things like that. But that's a substation, that's all that is. It looks like an ancient house, you know, from...
I've seen a couple of tracks like on, what's that street, Popular Grove, like in Volvo Junction.
Stuff up there.
Oh, yeah, there's like some tracks right there. Yeah. And there's another one, it's like another piece of track on Emerson, and I forget that side street name, right there near Route 40.
Well, they're coming up because they just paved over them and paving wears down and then there's tracks. That's how we get a lot of stuff. Like that switch right there, to come in with that loop there, that's from right over here, North Avenue and Linden Avenue. They were doing some work on the street. Hey, can we have that? Go get it. They went and got it. This whole loop here, you know where this is, Bill? Baltimore Street. That's Baltimore Street. Went down, took the whole loop, brought it here. The loop at the other end is from Sparrows Point. So I always like to say, we just went from Sparrows Point to West Baltimore Street in like 3 or 4 minutes. I can't serve.
Wow, yeah, that is pretty neat.
Yeah. So now the next car out should be that green car, which is the last streetcar to ever run in Baltimore, which is kind of a neat car to be in. And you'll see the difference between these ancient cars and that car. It's just a whole different ride and everything. So you might have some fun with that. Okay. So I guess we can get ready to go back. And if you want to, you can do your seats if you want to, or you can sit backwards, whatever. Yeah. All right.
So you want to move the seat? Just do this?
Look, that is so clever. That's crazy.
Like you have it like this, have people time
Sit together, yeah?
Do you want it this way or?
You put it.
There we go.
All right. No, they took. So it's sort of like this. this. You
And
didn't
he
need
took
to
him
bring
with
this
him?
up.
Yes, that's
Go the other way.
Well, we want to make sure.
But that car, that green car, when you're right on that, you'll see that it only goes one way. Although there are controls behind the back seat.
You got the counter still. Super counter.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if that's automatic with the token box.
Okay.
Is that transit box?
I get actually one more question before we go. This car and the other one, the other open car, are they the same time period? Like the same?
1904 for this one.
Like your for this one?
1896 for the other one.
Okay.
But this
So it could about a
this
couple of
was
years.
modernized like in the 1920s. It would have had just seats on the side. Yes, please.
So the counter there, right? 'Cause we were looking at the counter at the
Right.
other one, where
Right.
you had to manually do it. Is that connected with
Connected
the?
with rods, and
Is it connected with the box? When you put your, you know what I mean? Like, is it some
token?
where you have to manually do it?
I would manually do it from here.
Oh, okay.
But I don't have to. Now, some of the cars you can walk through the cars and you can ring them as you walk down the aisle. You know, the cars. So. Okay.
I guess these are.
Ready? Are you ready?
Ready.
Are you sure?
Yeah, take that over.
All right, we're gonna go back and get myself a picture. Ready? All right.